Hey, what's going on, peoples? How do you today? We're doing pretty good. Doing pretty good. Uh, Stayed up pretty late to to an hour that I didn't think I was actually gonna make it to actually, but it did go ahead and give me some good rest in between the twilight hours, that is. A power nap, I should say. But we're up and at it right now again, and taking in some sunshine here, which is pretty good. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. I did it in that short power nap, I should say, and it was about a couple hours though, but not with all the time, or I can't say put into physical work, but mental work, or you know, checking things out. You know what I mean? I needed a little bit more, but I had a cool power nap, focus, dream, and it was actually with my grandma. My grandmother, Teen Ethel. All right, Teen Ethel, and Miss Ethel. She especially with the. I know you can't really tell with the La Prade T-shirt that I have, from the family reunion in 2022. Can't tell, but everybody did go ahead and have, they dressed for the picture, of course, and everything. But she was like, between her and Aunt Ruby, okay, those are the ones I got to know the most and everything. Aunt Martha, of course. But those are the only aunties I really got to know the most. Later on, we did go check on Aunt Gert. She had passed away. She was living in a hoarding type of a home. Was full. So my mom she was taking her time to go help them out. Clean up some of the stuff. I remember going inside there myself and looking at some of the things and how whether we get older or we actually those things and everything that we really don't take into serious account or give thought to, that we do, how it takes over us and everything, takes us over, and we end up having a gang of, like a hoarding type of, whether it be thoughts, whether it be material things, whether it be just things that are passed down that you want to hold on to, and it didn't necessarily resonate with you for any reason, but you want to hold on to it just for, heredity state, states of your heritage and everything. And so, yeah. And she always kept a nice, clean house. She didn't have dark colors at all. No dark colors. Everything was light all the time. And that it threw me into a different mode and everything, because even as I look at my suitcase that Rena had, it's brown. The little duffel bag she bought, got, it's purple. That's for the, her queen, their whole Eastern Star thing. And Brown, you know, was with the Browns and everything, you know. Matter of fact, when we actually got divorced in the building itself, the court building, you know, some lady walks up to her, you know, it was one of her Eastern Star sisters basically, and they were going to court. It was also with something else probably, or maybe they were just an escort, you know, and see how things actually was going on with the court case. But afterward and everything, one of the brothers set up and everything, you know, I wanted to go get in line and go ahead and grab some paperwork we had to go get, you know. And the brother and everything, I come back around and, you know, I thought she was maybe doing some work or what have you not. But it wasn't the case. It wasn't the case at all, you know. And so she comes back around and and she says, wow, that guy's last name is Brown too. You know, she's really putting a tent on some bullshit, you know? So I didn't go back around there. I let it play on out, you know? And then, you know, throughout the, you know, thought process and everything, you know, Brown, you know, Damien, the youngest brother, he always D.E.W Brown, you know, Brown Motors, Brown this, Brown fried chicken, you know, whatever the thing, you know, he was trying to go ahead and, you know, make a couple of bucks on, you know, until he got a security guard, you know, and I guess this $1 million bond in which he stated that, no, I'm talking about in excitement, hey, I got $1 million bond, you know, so, and then it threw me back into like memories and everything too, you know, because as growing up in high school, you know, I had quit, like I said, 9th grade, quit after 8th grade. It was just too slow. And ended up getting into a little bit of trouble, went to Les Prietos Boys Camp. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. But anyways, so in the interim, I'm hanging out with, you know, somebody that's older than me and everything, you know what I'm saying? Matter of fact, he was one of them also. He was a Brown. You know, D.E.W Brown. I'm gonna have to say D.E.W Brown. You know, because matter of fact, when his name is Lamar Dansby, Navy. When I actually went over and stayed with him with Denise Zuniga at fucking Lamar Naval Air Station, Air Force Base, or Naval Air Station, yeah. More, you know what I mean? But in high school, he went and got a 69 Impala, you know, with the slits in the back and everything. And he went ahead and painted the car brown with gold metal flakes inside and everything. Then he went and got some skirts for it, you know, and the skirts didn't fit or wouldn't stay on or something like that. So he did a number, I call it a Damien number. You know, he said, fuck it, we're gonna still go make it and everything. And so he went and bundled the skirts on and then went ahead and painted it. Put the paint on there and everything, you know. And he's part of the Masonic Freemasons and everything too, for the simple fact that, you know, he has a Lamar Jr. Okay, it might be the third. I don't know what his father's name was, but and all of that, whatever happened during their childhood and everything too, must have affected a lot of things, because even Mark Dansby, and I'm not saying everybody has a choice. I do. Everybody has a choice in things, But Mark Dansby also turns out to be gay and everything. And it's not, it's not even here or there, but I'm just looking at the process. We're just talking processes. Things. And, and then like I was saying with the Navy, a lot of people, they're on ships all the time. So it's not a whole lot of women on there. And even when I went to fucking Iraq, when I went to Dhahran, we have been places before and everything to where, hey, we had this team spirits, what have you not, to where they would actually bring girls in buses out to our little thing, you know what I'm saying? And, for us to have sex with and all that. But when I got there in Iraq, it was crazy because we weren't even off the base. And because this was definitely, this is war, we had joint. It wasn't just like our unit or and most of the time it wasn't, but this was on a large operation. This is fucking war, okay? 11 o'clock, wow. And so, the first thing I see is a line outside of a tent, of dudes, and it's like, it's more than one person who can be inside the tent and everything, because everybody slept, under a tent, and then you had your hammock inside of there, And so, it's a line outside the tent, and all the dudes are just lined up and everything, you know what I'm saying? All the dudes just lined up. So, if that just happened in the desert, then what the hell is happening on a Navy ship? Okay. So, incidentally, Navy, is Nabi. And Nabi is prophet, or even navigator, which is what a prophet does and everything. You know what I'm saying? All right. In a general sense, by guiding the cheap. Well, some people are cheap. Guiding the chief, or because just because you're a chief, you might not be the prophet. That's like a king priest. That's the reason why you had to travel like that with circle, because that's not your gift. You might have the oratory and it may be the bloodline for rulership. I'm saying, but it doesn't necessarily give you the priest aspect and everything. So that's why your chessboard is set up like that. I'm pretty sure, And by that of the story within the Bible of King David and that of Saul, So anyway, yeah. So Damien, like I said, he was with his D.E.W Brown when I got out of prison. He goes ahead and he has this girl also named Bettina Brown, and Bettina looks like it's a man. It's a man, I believe. It's a man. Though she was married, but she looked like a fucking man. And she was the rough. With the deep voice too, almost deep as fucking Rena's. And I think the voice came even deeper because of the witchcraft and shit that they was doing. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, with the whiskers. So all those things was like popping into my memory. And even to the thing that Damien had actually, he used to pick up pretty nice looking girls anyway. You know what I'm saying? And, it's a couple of them, I didn't even go to those stories and shit. But this right here was like the ultimate, I was like, damn, this brother fucking doing bad. And then they come to find out she married and he the motherfucking side piece. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I'm really like tripping out. This is coming out of prison. I'm like saying, damn. And so this is where I saw too. We went up to the church there in Oxnard. Okay. And they had church and put in money like, hey, like it was really going somewhere. And I was like, wow, these motherfuckers right here is just way the fuck out. You know what I'm saying? And anyway, so yeah, he also, just loved this D.E.W Brown saying, you know, and he was trying to pump everybody up and what they do around, by giving me the stories and everything, as far as like patina. And this happened to be the same way that I went into Santa Monica City College. Again, there was the counselor was Noel Gomez out of Boyle Heights down here, and freaking, and it was a DRC that was actually giving the money to, because basically all the money that we got into these programs with comes up off our fucking social security number already anyway. So they're just getting the funds and allocating them out to us. And then on top of that, make you go to these motherfucking damn meetings, and if you ain't no motherfucking alcoholic, you gotta go in there and sit up in there any motherfucking way. You gotta, if a person get the fuck out of prison and they say a person should be locked up no more than 10 years. Why is that? Because 10 years is completion. Now, if they get out and do the same thing again, then of course that's gonna go back in. But 10 years, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There is no 11, as even I heard even today, and I knew it already. But there's even no 11 in fucking tarot. Okay, there's no 11 in that. And I believe the reason is because the 613 commandments that were given, okay, is reduced down to 10, and all 248 positive and all 365 negative are included inside of that. All right, so once again, we can go ahead and do 248 positives that will go ahead and enlighten us light up our whole path, light up the path that we're on, and or we can go ahead and take the 365 and just break one a day, and then you got to play catch up, because that shit is coming back to grab your ass. That shit is coming back to grab your ass. Why? Because those are instituted cosmically, and they had to go ahead and give it to us. And even in a chessboard form, the 8x8 of the I Ching, of Ching Ching, monetary. And that's what it's talking about. You know what I'm saying? As one can go ahead and even coordinate. You know how people coordinate colors of clothes and shit? Coordinate. You can coordinate, especially through the death process and processes, whether it be the Egyptian Book of the Dead, or that be of the Tibetan Book of the Dead, where you have your different stages of death, Bardo, Theo, Chiki Bardo. You have all these different, forms or transition of that, in which you actually, they go ahead and inform the people prior to death to go towards even a certain light, really to recycle you back down in here. And then with the same, because generation equals new 108. Okay, so with that same generation, Hassium 108, with the same magical square of the I Ching, all right, 8x8, of not the creator, but the creative, okay, Hien, all right, Kun, your ace boom Kun, you know what I'm saying? All right. Hien, which is thunder, all right, which is that's the shot, that's the thunder right there, the lightning bolt that everybody had. Grab had above the lightning, 'cause today he let it go. You know what I mean? Rocket Man? Rocket Man. No, Nothing Man is what it is. Nothing Man. But yeah. And so what happens is, then you go down to the abysmal water there. And then you have Ken, the mountain. Ken, the mountain. K-E-N, like Kenya, straight up. All right. And you got Soon, or Son, first daughter, which is wood, wind, and then, of course, the sun. You know what I'm saying? Then you got Lee, which is the clinging fire. And then you got that of Twee. And Twee I had met over, from Vietnamese and everything. She was the first one. I met her lastly here at Sonics, where she's older, and she was singing before too. Looked beautiful. I saw the pictures and everything too. Beautiful. And she was older, getting older. But when she was the only one too, I believe when Sonics shut it down, she was the only one to fucking go ahead and say, I'm not fucking going to take this shot. Other than that, I think everybody did, but I did mine for reasons. And so she left. She left and everything, right? And so she actually started back singing again, and actually went home to fucking Vietnam. And even over there, as I said, the Vietnamese, the brother Rocky, he's the brown thing, you know what I'm saying? I wonder what the Ford Bronco is going to be like, so that's the company of Browns, you see what I'm saying? Who give a fuck about a Ford Bronco, okay, or a Denver Bronco for that fucking matter, as it is brown clear that it's motherfucking, killing all those in Akabuland, or Africa, as we call it today. And that's clearly brown. So all of these things I was looking at, one second. Yeah, all of these things I was looking at and everything, because even like I said, the things inside of the home. Matter of fact, it happened to be my first color, my first car I got, which was the brown Celica. And I still remember the monthly payments of $179 per month. So it runs deep. But the main thing I was looking at, too, because see, brown, you don't necessarily, you can't see the stain and everything, when it gets dirty. You can't see the stain, even though you might have a clean house and everything. And that's kind of like, in a general sense, why a lot of people will take darker colors and everything, like, for instance, bath towels, I had suggested to the ex-wife, Rena, to let's get some fucking white towels, so we could see the fucking dirt coming off and all this and everything. But no, she liked every color, because she said it's so hard to keep clean. What was the logic in that, and fucking seeing the fucking dirt come off your fucking body? Never did it. Even I'm still using towels and everything that I got from her right now. But I'm gonna go ahead and get me some brown towels. I didn't even think about that. Might as well apply it right now too. But going through a lot of shit, literally, on a mental, with a lot of these things that we're going through right now. And I guess it's the retro time, so that's the reason why it's happening. So that's the reason why. So just going with it. Just going with it. Yeah. And so, yeah, even with Patina, going back to Patina, he was showing the same thing I did with the schooling, because I knew what I wanted to do, go back to school, learn this, learn that, learn that. And so jumped into Santa Monica City College. And so the DRC, what fucked me up in there is had this lady, she was running it, I forget her name, but she was a bitch. She was a straight bitch. And she was a pregnant bitch at the time too. So I was really feeling bad for the baby, honestly. Feeling bad for the baby. To come into the world, and mama gonna be just like that. I'm sure they're gonna train it to where they don't necessarily know any different. But that's pretty much, how everybody does. And then when they do get into, because they're so used to having different things, then they continue along the path, whether it be good, bad, or ugly. Whether it be good, bad, or ugly, they tend to continue along the paths of how they were raised. You know what I mean? And so, what had happened inside of the program was that the counselor that I had, and this is where it just started. The counselor I had, he scheduled an appointment for me to go ahead so we could set up and everything and get my classes and everything. Well, he had missed a couple, appointments and everything with me also, because he was taking classes. But on top of that, for the next semester, he got his classes and I didn't get my classes. Okay? Now I thought that was like, I just, gave it up to him being okay, just forgot. But no, all of that shit was fucking planned. All of that shit was planned. And so when I set aside, and then because they were paying for the rent, it's where you lived at and everything, and you had to attend an AA meeting, and you're not a fucking alcoholic. You got to stand up and say, "Am I alcoholic?" or introduce yourself. They don't make you, but most of the people just follow suit. My name is blah blah blah, and I'm an alcoholic. So if you alcoholic, you ain't gonna never stop changing. You're not gonna change. What you speak into existence is fucking reality. So all that shit, is not in my fucking ideology, and I wasn't accepting that shit either. So this, and then you had to go ahead and come up and clean, do something inside the DRC, like they didn't have a motherfucking cleaning service or some shit, So you had to do those things also on top of that, and so I had to shut my mouth. They knew exactly what my fucking position and disposition was on the whole fucking matter, right? Whole fucking matter. And so I had to go ahead and stay inside that program for a minute. And I'm talking about programs and everything now because that's the same thing Bettina did. Bettina had got a couple of houses, a couple of elderly, or either halfway houses to where the people took medication because you get paid for the fucking medication. And this is what their whole get down was, just like everybody else's in a general sense, And so I'm seeing all of this shit. I'm saying, wow, these motherfuckers, D.E.W Brown, this is the shit. And so, even the brown towel I have right now is also from their arena. So that's the reason why she went ahead and chose the colors and the things to leave me, so it's in representation of, and even the blanket, the brown blanket, the Indian Aztec, it's basically when you go ahead and look at the electricity. Okay, you have different ones. You got the ones that look like the telephone pole, and you got one line or two lines between. Then you get the big grid ones, okay, and those have the triangles inside. And so these are the triangles and stuff, because the triangles is what Low Bear is talking to us about on the copper plates that he's been translating for 40 fucking years. And so that triangle, okay, of delta in Greek, which is the door. And so that's what he does. He has to go ahead and get his finger just not wet, but just, I mean, not soaking wet, but just wet enough to go ahead and read the copper tablets. Read the copper tablets and everything, because they flip back and forth, and then he receives the message and he writes it down. But he's been doing that for 45 fucking years. And that was 5 years ago, so it's 50 fucking years right now. Okay? So these are the items that she leaves inside of my possession to go ahead and utilize in some type of hexagrammic type of I guess, energy to go ahead and either receive energy or transmit negative energy to me through these items. But once, see, as 1917, with Nikola Tesla, that free energy, once you go ahead in the inside and you go ahead and unlock all those closets and shit that you locked up all kinds of bones and everything, you know what I'm saying? And like they say in Ezekiel 37, you know what I'm saying, these old dry bones will get the fuck up. And I see dead people coming out of the graves. Antonio, yeah. Antonio, I forget his last name right now, but that was the first one. That was 14 years ago when he, came up with the original title of I See Dead People. Everybody, and everybody go ahead and buy it, but in a general sense, you get credit to where credit is due. You get credit to where credit is due, because we are building off of each other, and things lent to us, whether it be through our ancestors or through, our energy, our vibration, of and frequency, where we have put in the work. I was gonna say word, and that's it though, because the word is Dabar or Devir, and that is the root word of the oracle, which is the same creative 216 in the I Ching for Ching Ching, like Chingy, you know what I'm saying? That it is inside of the KJV, King James Version, for the oracle of which was built first. And even in whether they had to build the section for the oracle or the oracle itself, because the oracle can be built also. It's also a speaker. It is a literal speaker. Okay? Into which, and why is that? Because everything is energy, is radio waves. So that's the reason why we have FM and AM. FM, they keep everybody on FM for a little bit and everything. But notice, when you go past military bases, they tell you to turn your station to 1040 AM for military personnel. All right, when you see that and shit right there, so those are the frequencies that we sit up here talking about, in which those radio transmissions, as we are emitting transmissions every single second, whether it's coming in or coming out, because we're pure electricity. So if we want to be low gutter, doo-doo brown, then that's what we're going to be. That's what we're going to be. Okay? And again, it's not like we can, wipe our ass and get clean and everything, because you can clean those frequencies up. Therefore, you can go to the higher frequencies. Right? And that's what that's the reason why, see, when we take different items inside of the home, then it's a representation of something. Like, there's no way in fuck I could have me a brown bed, you know, or a brown couch for that matter. There's no way in fuck. I don't give a fuck, whatever, you know, for that matter, because you can't see the fucking dirt, even though if you keep it clean, you know, you can't see the dirt. But at the same time, we all have choice. We all have choices, and that's the key right there. Everybody has choices, you know, so whether one wants to perceive that you can have more choices over this way or more choices over that way, you know, that's going to be up to the individual who's actually the soul, okay, the soul here, and how they're going, and the soles of their feet, okay, how we're going to get there, and the souls of our ancestors that is inside of us is guiding us, you know, because it's imperative. It's imperative that you go by your range and what your belief system is. And even, don't get me wrong, we will definitely go and you know, when we find those that are on the same frequencies, going down the same, you know, I'm not going to say paths even, because paths are different. You know what I'm saying? Paths, and I got something on that a little bit later. Paths are different. You know, those are that leads to actually, that's patha, which are creeds, and that's just to go ahead and say, hey, I'm gonna join in with you in this creed, basically. You know, in a general sense, and so that's the reason why. That's how the Panthers came up. Then we got the comedy, the Pink Panther. You know, and we got, like I said, Betty, the White Panther, a fucking, um, what is it? What college is that? Chapman University, where my ex-wife, she went ahead and got her degree at. You know, so yeah, to each our own. So take your time and be beautiful, and whatever vibration that you choose to go ahead and illuminate. All right, especially because your aura and your angels are all behind us and wanting us to go ahead to do that, because we came down to be the original. So why on earth be a copy? Yeah? All right. You guys take care, and we'll talk to you soon. All right? Watch out. Oh, keep loving me. I'll keep loving you.